Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome to the We Stories. Today I prepared three interesting stories for you. The first one is horror. The second one is intrigue. And the third one is detective. My English is not perfect yet, but I want to share interesting stories with you, bring your emotion and become better with you. So take your place, take your food, and let me tell you a new story. The first story. The camera that showed tomorrow. I bought the camera for $5. If I had known what it could do, I would have left it there. It happened at a flea market, a small one, outside town. Nothing special. I collect old cameras, broken cameras, vintage cameras, any kind. That's why I noticed it. An old Polaroid, covered in dust, sitting alone on a table. The seller looked nervous, very nervous. When I picked it up, he immediately said, "Take it, $5." I laughed. "Why so cheap?" The man looked away, then whispered, "Because it shows things." I thought he was joking, so I paid, and left. That evening, I decided to test it. I pointed it at my kitchen and took a picture. The photo slowly developed. Black shapes, furniture, the table. Everything normal. Then I noticed something strange. A glass on the table. A glass that wasn't there. I looked at the real table. Nothing. Then I looked back at the photo. The glass was still there. I laughed. Probably a defect. Old film. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen and stopped. There was a glass on the table, exactly where it appeared in the photo. I stared at it for a long time. Then I grabbed the camera and took another picture. This time, I photographed my backyard. The image developed, and my blood ran cold. Because standing in my yard was a man watching my house. The problem, when I took the picture, the yard was empty. I ran outside immediately. Nobody was there. No footprints, no movement. I checked the fence, the gate, even the street. Nothing. The night I barely slept. The photo stayed on my desk. I kept looking at it. The man never moved, just stood there, watching the house. The next morning, I opened the curtains and nearly fell backward. The man was there, exactly where he appeared in the photo, standing motionless. I called the police, but when they arrived, the man was gone. Just gone. As if he had never been there. Now I was terrified, so I took another picture, this time of my living room. The photo developed. At first, everything looked normal. Then I saw it. A shadow standing behind my couch. Tall, human-shaped. I looked up immediately. Nothing. The room was empty. But 2 days later, someone broke into my house. I never saw his face, only his shadow. The same shadow from the photo. The camera wasn't broken. It wasn't fake. It showed tomorrow. Then I became obsessed. Every morning I took a new picture, every day, and every photo came true, every single one. Then, one evening, I decided to test something bigger. I pointed the camera at myself and took a picture. The photo slowly appeared. My face, my clothes, my room. Then my heart stopped. Because in the photo I was lying inside a coffin. Below the image, someone had written a date. 7 days from now. 7 days from now. I stared at the photo, unable to breathe, unable to think. My funeral, my coffin, my face. There was no mistake. For the next 3 days, I barely left my house. I locked every door, covered every window, and watched the street. Then I took another photo, the same coffin, the same funeral, the same date. Nothing changed. No matter what I did, the future stayed the same. Then I remembered the seller, the man from the flea market. So I went back. It took hours to find him. But eventually I did. The moment he saw the camera, his face turned white. "You saw it, didn't you?" I nodded. "My death." The old man sighed, then said, "The camera always shows the truth, but not the whole truth." Then he handed me a photo, an old photo, yellow with age. My blood froze, because the man from my yard was standing in the picture. The same face, the same clothes. The photo was dated 1978, almost 50 years ago. "Who is he?" The old man looked terrified, then whispered, "The last owner. The camera never lets anyone keep it. Eventually, it takes them." The 7th day arrived, exactly as shown. Rain, dark clouds, everything matched. That evening, I heard a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. I already knew who it was, the man from the photo. When I opened the door, he smiled, then looked at the camera in my hands and said, "Finally." Then he reached for it. Instinctively, I took one last picture. The photo developed, and both of us stared, shocked, because for the first time, the photo showed nothing, just darkness. Then man's smile disappeared. Then he whispered, "No." And suddenly he began to fade, like smoke, like a photo burned away. Seconds later, he was gone. So was the camera. Both vanished forever. The next morning, the funeral never happened. The date passed. And I remained alive. Sometimes I still wonder what the last photo meant. The one that showed only darkness. Because maybe the future hadn't disappeared. Maybe for the first time it was finally unwritten. Okay, what do you think about this story, guys? Write in the comments. Someone sent me my future diary. The diary had my handwriting. The second story. Someone sent me my future diary. Intrigue. The diary had my handwriting. That was impossible, because I had never seen it before. My name is Ethan. I was 28 years old, and my life was painfully ordinary. I worked in accounting, lived alone, and spent most evenings at home. Nothing exciting. Then, one Tuesday, a package arrived. No sender, no return address. Inside was a black notebook. Simple, plain, unremarkable. Until I opened it, the first page read January 14. January 14. I'm sorry. Today's date. Then I read the entry. It described my entire morning. Perfectly. The coffee I spilled. The meetings I hated. Everything. Word for word. Exactly as it happened. Then I turned the page. January 15. Tomorrow. My hands began shaking because the diary described events that hadn't happened yet. One sentence caught my attention. At 3:42 p.m., a woman in a red coat will enter your office and change your life forever. I laughed. It had to be a joke, some elaborate prank. The next day, I kept checking the clock. 3:40 p.m., 3:41 p.m., then exactly 3:42 p.m. The office door opened and a woman walked in, wearing a red coat. My heart stopped, because the diary was right, every word. The woman smiled, walked directly toward me, then said, "Hello, Ethan. We need to talk about your future." I just stared at her, speechless, confused, terrified. The woman sat down, calmly, as if this conversation was normal. Then she pointed at the diary. "You have been reading it." It wasn't a question, it was a fact. "Who are you?" I asked. The woman smiled. "My name is Olivia." Then she added, "And according to the diary, we fell in love." I almost laughed. Almost. Because the diary was never wrong. That evening, I read ahead. Far ahead. 3 weeks, then 4, then 2 months. Every page described Olivia. Our conversations, our dates, our relationship, and everything happened exactly as written. Exactly. Then one night, I reached a page that wasn't about Olivia. It was about another woman. A woman named Emma. Someone I had never met. Or so I thought. The diary said, "Today I met Emma, and everything changed." I frowned, then kept reading. The next pages became worse, much worse, because it described a choice, a terrible choice, one woman or the other, Olivia or Emma. The diary said I couldn't have a boss. Then I reached a page dating 6 months ahead, and my blood ran cold, because one sentence was underlined 3 times. It said, "On October 12th, I will lose one of them forever." At that exact moment, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A woman's voice said, "Hello, Ethan. My name is Emma." I nearly dropped the phone, because I had just read that name in the diary. The next day, I met Emma, and immediately understood the problem. She was incredible. smart, funny, easy to talk to. And for the first time, the diary was right about something I didn't want. I liked her. Weeks passed, then months. And exactly as the diary predicted, I found myself between two women, Olivia and Emma. Both cared about me, and I cared about both of them. Then October arrived, closer and closer, toward October 12th, the date from the diary, the date when I would lose one of them forever. I became obsessed, reading ahead, searching for answers, trying to change the future. Then I reached the final page, the very last entry. My hands shook because it wasn't signed, not by me. The entry said, "If you're reading this, then I finally succeeded." I frowned, then confused. The message went on. "My name is Ethan, and I am writing this 6 years from your future." I stopped breathing. The diary wasn't protecting the future. It was the future. A future version of me had written it, and somehow sent it back. Then I read the final lines. The reason for everything. The reason for Olivia. The reason for Emma. The diary said, "You were never supposed to choose. The choose was the trap." Then came the truth. Olivia had sent the diary from the future to save me, because in the original timeline I chose Emma and lost both of them. Not because Emma was bad, not because Olivia was right, but because I spent my life trying to predict everything, trying to control every outcome, instead of living. October 12th finally arrived, the date from the diary, and that morning I made a decision. I burned the diary. Every page, every prediction, every answer. For the first time, I didn't want to know the future. I wanted to live it. Years later, I was sitting beside Olivia, watching the sunset. And for the first time in my life, I had no idea what would happen tomorrow. And strangely, they felt perfect. Interesting story. What do you think about this story, my guys? Write in the comments. For me, very important your opinion. And we move to the next story. The man in every crime scene photo. The man appeared in every photo, every single one, for 20 years. The problem? Nobody noticed him until I did. My name is Detective Ryan Cole, and I thought I was investigating a murder. I was wrong. It started with a simple case. A businessman found dead in his office. No witnesses, no suspects, nothing unusual, until I reviewed the crime scene photos. One image caught my attention. In the background, through the office window, stood a man, tall, wearing a dark coat, looking directly at the camera. At first, I thought he was a witness, a random pedestrian, nothing more. Then, 3 days later, another murder happened. Different victim, different location, different circumstances. I'm so sorry. While reviewing those photos, I saw him again. The same man, the same coat, the same expression. Watching, always watching. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. So I searched older case files. 5 years back, 10 years back, 15. Then my blood ran cold, because I found him again, and again, and again. Different crimes, different cities, different years, same man. Then I found the oldest photo, 20 years old, and he looked exactly the same. Not older, not younger, exactly the same. Then I zoomed in and noticed something even worse. In every photo, he was looking directly at me, as if he knew I would eventually find him. Then I turned over the oldest photo and found a handwritten message. Only 4 words. It said, "Finally found me, Ryan." The problem was, the photo was taken 12 years before I joined the police. Well, I checked it again and again, hoping I had made a mistake. I hadn't. The message was real. The date was real. Everything was real. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I did what detectives do. I investigated. I scanned every photos, every life, every police report. Then I noticed something strange. The man never appeared before a crime, only after, always after, as if he wasn't causing them, as if he wasn't investigating them, just like me. 3 days later, I got a call, an elderly woman. She said she had information about the man in the photos. An hour later, I was sitting in her living room, looking at an old family album. Then she pointed to a photo. My heart nearly stopped, because the man was there, standing beside her husband, smiling, like an old friend. "Who is he?" I asked. The woman became pale, then whispered, "No one knows. He never gave a name. He just appeared every time someone died." Then she handed me something, an envelope, yellow with age. Inside was a photo, brand new, recently printed. I looked at the image and nearly dropped it, because I recognized the location. It was my office. Then I saw myself, standing by the window, holding a case file. The date was written on the back, tomorrow. And standing behind me was a man, smiling, as if he finally closed enough to speak. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I kept staring at the photo, waiting for morning. When I arrived at my office, everything looked normal, exactly as always. The desk, the window, the case files, everything. Then I looked at the clock, the exact time from the photo. My pulse quickened slowly. I turned around, and he was there, standing behind me, exactly like the photo. Tall, dark coat, calm eyes. I reached for my gun. He didn't move, didn't react. Instead, he smiled, then said, "Hello, Ryan." I pointed the gun at him. "Who are you?" The man looked almost amused, then answered, "You already know." I didn't, not yet. Then he handed me a photo, a very old one, older than all the others. My hands trembled, because I recognized the child in the picture. It was me, at 6 years old, standing beside my parents, and beside us stood the same man. My blood ran cold. Impossible. The man shook his head, then quietly said, I was there the day your parents died. The room spun. My parents were murdered 20 years ago. Their killer was never found. Then the man revealed the truth. He wasn't following murder. He was following one murderer. The same murderer for 20 years. Every crime scene, every victim, every photos connected. Then I asked the question I feared most. Who is the killer? The man looked directly into my eyes, then slowly pointed towards the evidence board. At a photo of my captain. The man whispered, he killed your parents. And everyone after them. That evening, the captain was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. 20 years of secrets finally exposed. Weeks later, I tried to find the mysterious man, but nobody knew him. Nobody had records. Nothing. Then, one day, a package arrived. Inside was one final photo. It showed a future crime scene. A crime that hadn't happened yet. And standing in the background was me, wearing a dark coat, watching, exactly like him. And on the back someone had written, your turn. Okay, so my friend, what do you think about this story? Write in the comments. So, thank you, my dear listeners, for spending this time with me. If you like this story, please like, subscribe, and I'm waiting for you tomorrow, because tomorrow you hear a new interesting stories. Thank you and have a good day. See you again soon, my dear listeners. Thank you, my dear listeners. Thank you, my dear listeners, for spending this time with me. If you like these stories, please like, subscribe, write in the comments what do you think about this story, and I'm waiting for you tomorrow, because tomorrow I have new interesting stories for you. So, see you again soon, my dear listeners.